Okay, well, welcome everyone. You've come to Flip, formerly Flipgrid, and Kyle and I are going to talk about ways that you can integrate Flip into your computer science classroom. If you want to access the slides, they are linked to the CSTA agenda, but you can also find the tiny URL there. Flip in CS. Didn't really think about that until I actually produced that link, but here we are. If you're a tweeter and you want to tweet, uh, definitely tweet out different ideas to at Iowa CSTA, but also use those different hashtags, if you will, just to share out your learning, if you would. So here's kind of how we're going to break it down. I'm going to just give you a brief introduction to Flip. We're going to talk about some CS connections. We're going to talk about Flip in action. So we're going to have a chance to record our own Flip. And then we're going to have some share outs. And if you have any questions, we will answer those as well. So first and foremost, it looked like when Corey just asked the group, who has heard of Flipgrid, now Flip. It sounds like a lot of you are already are well accustomed to Flip. If you didn't know, though, Flip actually changed its name this past summer. So summer of 2022, they unveiled a lot of different features when they unveiled the new name, and it has been purchased by Microsoft. I don't know if you knew that or not, but I think that was a while ago. But nonetheless, now it's at Microsoft Flip. That's kind of their handle for all the social media, and they added a lot of things to Flip. If you haven't been in there recently, they have added a lot of great features in there. So first and foremost, it's a video discussion app. It is free. It is free to use. You can create flip boards or groups, if you will, where you can have individuals share short videos. You can build community in your classroom. You can welcome in individuals via the link. So you can have a special link for your flip group and you can welcome individuals in. We'll talk about that more later. And there are ways to, used to be Flip Grid Pals. Now I think I don't know if it's Grid Pals still or not, but maybe Flip Pals, I don't know. But you can also connect with other individuals who are using Flip throughout the entire world. So you can see here, more than 190 countries around the world are using Flip. So just a little quick tutorial how it works. You can see here in the GIF that I created, it's as simple as going into Flip, signing up, and I'm actually going to just go in and show you how easy it is to sign up. You can easily build a group, start a topic, send out the link, and you can have individuals start responding to the prompts that you've created for them. Or, maybe that's just an open-ended like classroom community where individuals can just start sharing their thoughts or sharing a little bit about themselves. The nice thing about Flip is not only is it, app friendly, so you can do it on your phone, a tablet. You can also use now they have a web interface, so you can use it on the web as well. And you can record your video, or your students can record their videos anywhere, basically. So I'm going to share with you just briefly here. When we go to Flip, it'll probably sign me in. So I already have a group created for CSTA this evening. But I'm going to sign out, and I'm just going to share with you, looks like it is still Grid Pals. I'm just going to share with you real quick how you can get signed up. If you are going to use it in the classroom, I would suggest that you sign up with your school email address. So you can see here, you can do a single sign-on. You can find your email address for your school. It'll connect to your Google account, or if you're Outlook, if you use Microsoft, it'll connect to that. And then you are into your Flip. Here, just briefly, you can create different groups. So you can create those for, say you wanted to do just an introductions type of thing. This is actually something I was a part of a couple years ago, several years ago, it looks like now. But I can also create groups for like this meeting itself. So I can also create groups for or join groups up here, whether I'm the pilot or I have a co-pilot, like Sabrina is the co-pilot on this group. There are a lot of different ways that I can join a group or create a group. Also up here, you can find some of the settings as far as managing your groups. This one, for example, I'll just share up here. So I went up to share. This is kind of how you are going to get to this flip, this prompt. If you go to share up here, you can actually share the topic. Just anyone with the link can join. So think about that in terms of, what possibilities might be out there. Kyle's going to talk about different ways in which you can use Flip, but and the CS connections. But another way that you can use Flip is, think about those community partners that you want to bring into the classroom. Sometimes it's not always feasible to maybe do a panel discussion, but if you had an individual that is in the CS field, uses computer science, or is in the computer science field, does a variety of, whatever the individual does, if they could share their story with a group that you create and you could share that flip topic with them, they could record their video, then your students could respond to that video. That individual, maybe they check back in and they respond to the students, but you can build a community just like that with, community partners. Other ways that you can share a topic, maybe, I don't know that I would do this necessarily. Maybe you're in like a group like CSTA, and you send a message to the CSTA group and say, hey, my 8th graders are learning this topic in code.org. They could really use some feedback, an authentic audience. They could really use some feedback from other students. You could share the link with that educator. That educator could share the link with their students. Those students could come on to your topic that your students were recording on, and they could give feedback. So there's lots of different things that you can do with that. You probably noticed there, you can also see the Google Classroom connection. That is a really nice feature as well. We're going to talk about discovery. I don't think we'll go into any of those other ones just for the sake of time, but that's getting started. So you can easily sign up, connect to your school account, and then create your first group and build a topic off of that. So we're going to go over to Kyle, and he's going to share some of the CS connections.
Yeah, Tyler, do you want to go ahead and flip to the next, go to the next screen?
Sure. Are you seeing I see. Yep. Good.
There we go. Yep.
Okay. Yep.
So, full disclosure, I've never used Flip in my classroom, but talking with Sabrina today, it is something that I do think there's several things that I'm an idea type of person and like to explore and try things. And so there are definitely things in here that I'm excited about and, ideas that I had come up. So, if you want students to maybe describe their program, and so at the Career Center, we have a lot of, career and technical programs. And so maybe, tell you what they've learned already from their previous classes. And so, because maybe it's not classes that you taught. And so maybe they were in a different program and you want them to share their experiences and that sort of thing. You can also use it to show you something that's not working. You can use it, I'm assuming, and Tyler, correct me if I'm wrong, but you could use it to collaborate with you and your student directly to help to debug. We do a lot of code debugging, and so it would be a resource that can you be in the same file at the same time?
It'd be more asynchronous, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but still, the student could share it with you. You would have access to it. You wouldn't have to have a second copy of it or have an email. Email drives me nuts, and so it would be a way to share information. Debug someone's code. We talked about that. Give feedback on a specific section of code, or and maybe can you go, and again, Tyler, I'm asking this, can you go into the student's program and like in a code sense, can you add comments into their code, or do you put comments in a separate place that they would have to go in and add them?
So I think, in this regard, they would probably like screen share. It'd be more of discussing like, this is how I program this frog to do this, whatever
Okay.
function. So then you would probably, as a teacher, you could give written feedback. You could record a video responding to their video. Their peers could be responding as well. They could probably add their link to their program, like maybe Scratch, for example, so you could go and peer into it and give feedback. But yeah,
Gotcha.
not
Gotcha.
maybe
Okay.
not that level that you're thinking yet.
Okay. Another thing that came to mind was, ask questions. Oh, go ahead, Dr. Z. Whoop, you got to unmute. There you go.
Got it. Okay. There is a limitation as to how many levels that we can get a response. In other words, the teacher does it, and then the student responds, and somebody can respond to them, but that's about as far as it can go, isn't it?
Tyler, I'll let you answer that. So
Yeah,
really like 3 levels.
yeah. I think in terms of that's a really good point. I mean, if you're not going to have a back and forth type of, it's not going to be like an infinite feedback loop. This is probably more of like, we're at the end of creating a program. Now I'm going to share my thinking as far as like how I program this program. And then the teacher can give feedback or the peers can give feedback. But yeah, that's a good point, Dr. Z. You don't necessarily, there are limitations in the feedback loop that you are creating. This is, it's not infinite.
Okay, thank you.
And that kind of leads into the next couple of bullet points. I've kind of my thoughts here quickly. Ask questions. So if a teacher, a student, you have them share information with you. If you've got a question or two, you can ask them back in a video what their, your questions, and then solicit a response back. Suggest enhancements, ideas. I'm an idea person, and so I'm always giving my students ideas, that sort of stuff. And so this would be a way to do it, maybe a little bit more, face, they can actually see your face, and in the video, and maybe explain it a little bit better than you would explain it in an email or in a text message back and forth. Explain a strategy to solve a problem. So you could have the student maybe explain to you what they did. Something that came to my mind as I was going through and looking at some of these and adding to them and things is students could then use this in their portfolio, because I'm hearing from a lot of my Cedar Valley, Waterloo, Cedar Falls area businesses that sometimes students can do things, but they really don't know what they're doing. So this would be a way that they could maybe demonstrate that they can explain and use the vocabulary for what's actually going on. Share an aha moment, if they figured something out. Share when, wow, when, where, when, how CS exists in the real world. Try and provide that connection. And do it in the real world, but locally too, in your local community. Where could this be used? Who would use this in our community? Why is this important? And so try and make it, locally real to the student. Describe a program app to solve a real world problem or situation. A lot of times I ask my students, I'm like, the thing that frustrates you the most, come up with a solution for it. Because, if it frustrates you, you're familiar with it, and, you have ideas, or you should have ideas. Use an exit ticket to make sure a concept's understood. Compare different algorithms, community connections. I mentioned that already a little briefly. Interviews, CS expert panels. These Parson problems, I would encourage you to check these out. When Sabrina was showing me this, I was really excited about the Parson problems and the rubber duck debugging. And so I don't quite have my head wrapped around it, but I am going to be jumping into those two things to kind of experience them. So I would encourage you, especially with high schoolers, and I do this with my students all the time. I've never done parson problems, but you know what? There might be a day in class where we're just going to jump into it as a class and figure it out together. And and the students will find things that I wouldn't find, and they can share them then with the whole class. And so it's kind of that you're in the middle of that collaborative learning piece. And so not necessarily I have to know everything before I teach it to the students. We figure it out and learn it together. And that's the way I love to kind of operate. If you want to flip to the next one, Tyler. A few more that kind of come to mind. Ethical. This one I love getting into conversations with students about ethics because I'm 52 years old and they're 16, 17, 18. They think way different than I do when it comes to ethics. And so, having that conversation though, and then making them realize, hey, 5 years when you go get a job, you're going to be working potentially for your grandpa. You're going to be working for me. Not that I'm quite old enough to be their grandpa, but getting there. I'm like, you're going to be working for me. So how are you going to be able to convince me, make an argument to convince me that your idea is correct, or we should automate this process? Why should we be doing something computer, automated versus, why I've done it this way for 30 years. Why do I need to change? Students compare different types of coding methods. You could have them solve a simple coding problem and they're going to do it 3, 4, maybe if you got 10 students, they might do it 10 different ways. And then you can show those to the class and say, hey, look, or maybe have the student get up and explain, and say, hey, this is the way I did it. This is the way I did it. They all get to the same result. They all solve the problem. But they do it differently, and that's the power of coding. CS current method, CS current events to prompt investigations and inquiry. You can use it current events, cybersecurity. That's a hot topic right now. All kinds of current events in the cyber world. Everything from the FFA to schools being attacked to anything and everything out there, and so. That's current events. What's happening? What are they in tune with news-wise? Have students share graphs, equations, spreadsheets. That maybe is more geared towards a math type of person. Students can discuss security practices on the internet. Definitely, what would be some ways to just throw out a prompt, what is a secure password, and see what kind of responses you get. They're going to be all over the place. And discuss hacking, privacy concerns, software piracy, discuss the role of computers in society, compare human intelligence versus machine intelligence, AI. A conversation that we had, it went 2 days and kids were into it. Chat GPT. How are you using it in your classroom? Because it's not going away. And so did your school block it? Why? And I drew the comparison with my, it's like YouTube. YouTube came out, everybody blocked it. Can't use it. Well, now everybody's using it. That's the way kids learn a lot of different things. They want to know how to do something. If I want to know how to do something, go to YouTube. And so, leverage it right out of the chute. And sure, yeah, it could be used for bad, but it could be used for good. And I always make the analogy of a car. You've got a driver's license. You can drive that car 120 miles an hour, or you can drive the car the speed limit. And so, it's a choice. Same thing with Chat GPT. You can use it to cheat and not learn anything. How is that going to help you? Or you could use it to productively learn concepts and to check your answers and those sort of things, and to really leverage the positive as opposed to always just shutting down and be like, nope, can't use it. And so compare positive, negative outcomes of computing on culture. AI. First semester, probably about in September, we had some fascinating conversations about AI, artificial intelligence, evaluate new software and hardware that enters the market, discuss the role of computing in prospective jobs, and then compare various types of input and output. So what types of, so this is not by any means a comprehensive list. Are there ways that any of you guys are using I'm going to say Flipgrid just because that's in my head, but Flip, are there ways that you guys have used it that maybe, you know, some specific examples? Anybody?
I have used it a couple different ways. One way was in computer science principles when the whole thing was going on about the one guy, I can't think of his name now, who puts the YouTube videos out of how to solve all the lessons. So I had students put their screen on Flipgrid with their code and then work their way through the code to explain it so that I could get a sense whether they really knew what they were doing or not, if they had really coded it or not. And then in computer science discoveries, I've used it a couple different ways. One is like when they have to do a presentation, like they create an app and then they have to explain it. I have them, they create almost like a commercial and they record that in Flip. And then also in computer science discoveries, when you get to coding collisions with your graphics in the game lab, I have the students take little like little squishy toys and stuff and pretend that they're the characters, and I have them hold it on the screen so that it looks like it's moving over, and then what happens? Does this one go or does this one go back this way, to demonstrate all the different collisions. So then they record that in Flip.
Yes, those are great. Thank you, Chris. I'm looking at the chat here, and is it Magda? Did I say that right? Hopefully I did. I'm going to make a guess that there are security issues. There is a lot of software security issues, and some colleges, more so than high schools, are getting pretty strict in the vetting process. And there has to be specific agreements and things that are signed and access given. And so I would make Flip aware of that you don't have access, and maybe ask the IT department what exactly the concern is, because it's probably something that other districts and colleges probably have that same concern. And so it's something too that they probably can take care of it pretty easy. We ran into a lot of issues with Unity. Unity took care of them really quick, and it was all in their terms of service, and it was just wording. It wasn't anything that was real bad, but it was wording that was going to stop the district from giving access. And so they just had to change the wording and really didn't have to change much else.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks for sharing, Magda.
Yeah. It's frustrating because, you know, on one hand, I'm preparing future teachers, and I really want to use something that it's already used and liked. And then I'm running into some roadblocks. But yes, I'll talk with them about that. Thanks.
Yeah.
So you actually were able to convince the manufacturer to change their legalese so it'd be more acceptable?
Is that Dr. Z?
Yeah, Lee Zeitz.
Yes, and it was not by any means just me, because again, in Unity, there's a pretty strong, powerful Facebook private group. Right. And so when you posted it out there, then it just blew up. And so it was a lot of different people. So that's why I'm saying if Magna, you and I's having this issue, there's others out there too. So make sure that you bring it to Flip's attention. But yes, they did go back because they want you and I, they want Waterloo Career Center, they want people to be able to use their product if they can.
Okay, I don't for the sake of time, because we do want you to add a video onto Flip here. We're going to try it. I don't know how that's going to work, but here's an example of the Parsons problem. It comes from the Big Book of Computing Pedagogy, pages 80 through 81. You can download it here. Basically, as Kyle kind of alluded to, you're given all the blocks or lines of code needed to solve a problem. The lines of code have been jumbled so that they are no longer in the correct order. And learners are asked to reorganize the code into the correct order to perform a specific task. So you can integrate that with Flip, have students record themselves explaining how they solve Parsons' problem. And, you can release the videos on the Flip as the lead. You can release them, when you want to. So you could have multiple students, fill out their problems or record their problems, their solutions to the problem. And then you could release them all, and then they could learn from their peers in that type of situation. Other resources for you. You can go to the Discovery Library. There's some ready-to-use topics here. So if there's middle school or high school, some of those areas in the CSTA standards that, maybe it's digital citizenship, things like that, where there are resources out there. We know that, but maybe to add a little bit of variety for students, give them something else to think about. And, when they are recording on Flip, they don't necessarily have to record their faces, although, that's kind of their world. I think students are naturally gravitate towards it. But we also don't, as we don't necessarily want to ruin it for them. So, we have to use our teacher discretion to say, we're not going to overuse Flip, but maybe there's a topic on digital citizenship that really warrants a discussion. Kyle was talking about that discussion on AI, chat GPT, those type of things where it's a current event topic. Students are really curious about it. And, that could be their platform. And they can record their video with their face, or they can have an avatar, or they don't even have to have their face on it either. So if they are concerned about that, you have the option. So we have about 15 minutes left. We're going to do a Flip in action. So basically what I want you all to do, and I'm going to have to mute myself. Kyle will have to mute himself. You will make sure that you don't turn on your mic for Zoom, but go and record. We'll see how this works. I'm not sure if this will work or not, but as long as we have our volume down and our mics off, you can go to this topic, and this is hyperlinked here. So you can click on this and you can add your response here, which is, what's one way you might use Flip in your CS instruction in the future? So we'd like you to add a topic. Again, you'll click on this. You can click on this screenshot, or the link is in the speaker notes as well. Add a topic, just briefly, gives others something to see, and then maybe we'll play a couple just so you can see kind of what it looks like. So if you've never used Flip, there's an opportunity to use it as a student, if you will, as a participant. And then also you can kind of see how it works on the teacher side as I share it with you. So I'm gonna mute myself. I'll have everyone else mute yourselves. Don't make sure you don't turn on your mic for Zoom and go and record. Just a brief video, please. Okay, so this is a little tricky. I don't want to ruin your videos. But we do need to, cool. So we have 6 of them. You can see here, they're starting to populate on in our group on this topic. You can see the different responses. Let's see if we can, 7 of you, great. Let's see if we can just share a couple of these and see what you all have to say. That might be a me issue, not necessarily you issue. We'll try Chris's here.
I think that's a me issue because I was trying to preview my video and I didn't hear the sound.
And with shapes,
sorry.
so they would.
Okay, it's all good. We're practicing tonight, so it's all good. So you can see Chris here.
In computer science discovery, students are working with text and with shapes, so they would could create a video in Flip explaining the differences between working with shapes and text and the similarities.
There you go. We'll do one more here. See what Anne had to say.
I'm thinking that I could use Flip with my fifth grade students as they're working with their microbits and thinking about what kind of projects that they would like to create using the microbit, and then sharing those ideas and coming up with kind of a compilation of different ideas and figuring out which ones they feel are actual doable projects and which ones would be ones that they would maybe need to reconsider.
Great.
Tyler, I had a question. So when I got to the right spot in the area where everybody was at, did you have to add everybody, or does it automatically add you? Because I can see members and see everybody who's in there, even if they don't have a video.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't add those. They just add themselves when they go in, right?
Yes. So did some of you have to log into your account? Or no?
Yes, I did.
You did.
I did.
Yep, I did.
I did.
Okay, so I do use this in I guess I imagine they maybe have to have an account to submit here. It wouldn't just be I mean, anyone with a link can respond to it, but I imagine you have to have an account of some sort to even respond.
I think so. I see all my groups that I created in the last.
Okay. So that's you as a lead versus, like, I'm a lead here, but on this introductions, I was a member, so I did not lead the topic.
I had an issue with the cameras. When I signed in, it said you're already using this camera. Therefore, I had to go back out and turn off the camera here, and then I could use it.
Ah, that's good to know. This is all we're building the plane as we fly it here, but that's good to know.
I had the same issue. I also, all I did was log in with my Google account.
Yeah.
I did, okay.
Okay. Is that your organization's account or just a personal account?
Yeah, so we have Chromebooks, so
Gotcha. Okay.
I just use my school one, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so there's Flip in action. That's our opportunity to actually see what it might look like. Ideally, I don't think you would do it on Zoom necessarily, and I think maybe those days are behind us, but hopefully. But if you were using it in the classroom, Flip obviously has some limitations in terms of getting a quiet space for students to actually record. That has always been a challenge, especially in the classes of 30 some students, and where do you put those students if they're recording their Flip videos during the school day? So that might be a challenge to consider. Also, you are going to have some reluctant students that maybe don't want to turn their camera on, and that's totally fine. I would definitely show them the different features so they can figure out a way to express themselves, but also feel comfortable when they express themselves. As far as users maybe using it in not necessarily the most appropriate way, I think you also need to moderate that. So as a teacher, if you have a goofball in your class that probably will say something goofy, consider that student might actually say that on camera. I don't know if that comes to a shock to you or not, but so prepare for that, where you can moderate their posts. But you can see, once you start moderating posts, and you have, 6 class periods, 20 students a class period, 20 to 30 students, you're talking about moderating a lot of posts. So then again, that turns into, well, if I'm getting to use tech integration in an effective way, I need to be more diligent and use my discretion to figure out, what am I trying to get out of students when they use Flip? Are they demonstrating learning? Is this an artifact of some sort? Because once you have them record that mixtape, which we don't have time to go into, but that mixtape is where you can take videos from maybe last semester and bring them to a topic for this semester. Maybe a student had some excellent insights or had some excellent questions. You could use those students' responses to drive your instruction for this next semester and beyond. So there's a lot of cool ways that you can use that too to kind of build community. You know, that senior who's in your cybersecurity class, sharing all the wonderful things that he's learned or she has learned in the class. And then she says, here's why you should take it, or here's why you should just even consider this class. So you can kind of use it for recruiting too. I mean, if that's what you do. Any questions or share outs or ahas? We have about 3 minutes left. Is there anything that maybe major takeaway or questions that you might have? You can put them in the chat too if you wish.
Tyler, I know I'm excited to explore it a little bit more and to kind of check it out. And so, because it is something that I have never, you know, and it seems fairly simple and intuitive because I put my video in the wrong spot. You just click the horizontal hamburger dots and it was moved it right to the area in the CSTA area you had created. So I like it when it's intuitive and I can figure it out quick. So that's good.
Sure. I don't remember who mentioned it, but you know, having students use it and demonstrating their understanding, like video does not lie. You know, once they're on camera and they're sharing their thoughts, I think you can get a pretty good indication if they understand what's going on, or you know, you can discover areas where you need to support that student more. And
Tyler, did you mention this works on cell phones?
yes, you can get the Flip
so
app.
They can record on cell phones, both Android and iOS?
Yes.
They need to probably download the app, I'm guessing?
Yes.
Okay.
I was in a 4th grade math class, and the teacher was absolutely incredible. And what he had done is they had been studying fractions for 2 weeks. And what he said is, he said, okay, now I want everybody to get into their Flip account, and or go to this account, and then I want you to spend time telling me everything you know about fractions, which is something I never even thought of. But the whole idea of really getting, and it was interesting because some kids climbed underneath a table to do it and whatever. But here he had, you know, he could go through and he could listen and see what types of concepts they had learned through the fractions, and also gave them a chance to take an account as to all the things that they had learned and they didn't quite understand that had happened.
That was really cool. Yeah, I mean, giving them a platform. Yeah, for sure. Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. Another nice thing about Flip is how you can put things in the background. Like if the students create a slide deck, they can put that slide deck in the background and then put themselves in front of the slide deck, kind of down in the corner, as like a talking head explaining everything.
Yeah, that's cool. One last comment. We have about 20 seconds left. They do have an immersive reader as well. So there are some accessibility tools there to support all students. We didn't get into that, but when you got into, let's see if I can show you real quick. Up here, the immersive reader is right here at the top, right next to the share button and the 3 dots. Thank you everyone for joining us for this breakout session. Let me know if you have any questions. Also follow Microsoft Flip if you will. They have a lot of resources there on Twitter if you're on Twitter. Thanks.